All right, so finding perfect squares and putting them on a number line. A lot of people get confused with the perfect squares and they say, well, if I divide by 2, that'll give me the perfect square. No, it's going to give you halfway between. But the perfect square is the number that multiplies by itself. So the 2 part is like 3 times 3. It is not. It's like half of 9. Okay, so let's take a look real quick. So let's start with our perfect squares that are perfect doubles, right? Perfect squares are doubles. So when we see them, we're thinking about these numbers in the middle here, right? These are all our perfect squares up to 12 times 12, right? 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, etc. So to find those on the number line, it's pretty easy. So the square root of 1, and that is this here. So this shape here, square root shape, means what number times itself equals 1. So the square root of 1 is 1, because we can look on our doubles sheet and we can say 1 times 1 equals 1. Okay. The square root of 4, so we're looking here at the square root of 4, is 2, because 2 times 2 equals 4. So on our number line, 2 and the square root of 4 are the same thing. And the next one, the square root of 9, 3 times 3 is 9, so the square root of 9 is 3. And then the square root of 16 is 4. So those are perfect squares. They come out as nice whole numbers and they match up with a number on the number line. Okay. So we need, knowing our doubles are very important here. Okay, to find squares, because that's basically how you find squares. What numbers is it between? We'll see that in just a second. So let's take a look. Scroll down a little bit. Here's our numbers: 1, square root of 1, square root of 4, square root of 9, square root of 16. What about the square root of 2 and the square root of 3? Okay, so if I look on my doubles chart, think of these, right? The square root of 1 is 1, square root of 4 is 2. So the square root of 2 should be between these things, and the square root of 3 is between them. So the square root of 2, it's bigger than 1, square root of 1, but it's smaller than the square root of 2. So it must be somewhere between 1 and 2. Square root of 3 is bigger than the square root of 1, but smaller than the square root of 4. So it's still between the numbers 1 and 2. So if we go to our number line, we see that the square root of 2 and the square root of 3 are in between the numbers 1 and 2. So can you guess where square root of 5, square root of 6, square root of 7, square root of 8 would be? Look at our number line. So the square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of 9 is 3. So the square root of 5, the square root of 6, the square root of 7, and the square root of 8 are all in between these numbers. They're all in between 2 and 3. So if we scroll down, we see the square root of 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all in between 2 and 3. That means the two numbers that multiply together to equal 5 is somewhere between 2 and 3. And you can figure that out. You can play around with a calculator and try it. So 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. So let's say 2 times, not 2 times, let's say 2.2 times 2.2, right? What would that be? That would be 4.4. It's not quite 5, so we can try 2.5 times 2.5, and that would give us a little bit bigger than 5. I don't have my calculator in front of me. So the number, the perfect number that multiplies together to equal 5 is somewhere between 2.2 and 2.5. And I can keep going and keep going and keep going until I find that I've got a whole bunch of decimal points, but it keeps going on and on and on. So I encourage you to pause and stop that. Try that. And if you want to go on, the square root of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, they're obviously going to be between 3 and 4, because 3 is the square root of 9, and 4 is the square root of 16. So the square root of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 are going to be somewhere between 9 and 16. Okay? So finding where the number goes on the number line is going to your doubles and saying, where is that number in between? Okay. If I wanted to find the square root of 96, then 96 is somewhere between 81 and 100. So the square root of 96 would be somewhere between 9 and 10. How to get closer to that is something we're going to do a little bit later. For right now, you just have to know what two whole numbers will it be between.